everyone. Welcome to Recipes for Radical Acceptance. Today, we're going to be making a traditional Sicilian finger cake served as a street food during the 3-day festival for Saint Agatha. The cakes are called Minne di Sant'Agata, which translates into Little Breasts of Saint Agatha, or, as I like to call them, Titty Cakes. You can probably already tell by looking at me or by reading my very Irish-sounding name, I am not Italian. Never been. Not religious either. I'm not even a very good baker. Regardless, today I'm gonna bake and eat me some titty cakes because I just loves me a good ritual. Ready to dive in? Let's go. To make these cakes, we'll be making an Italian sponge, a cannoli cream, a pistachio marzipan, cherry nips, and a lemon royal icing. It's quite an involved recipe, requiring quite a lot of preparation, but if you follow my lead, you should get through just fine. We'll start by prepping the ricotta cheese for the cannoli cream. Take a fine mesh strainer, line it with cheesecloth and set it in a bowl. You want to scrape the ricotta into the strainer. You'll see it dripping down below there. Press firmly until some more of the liquid has drained. Next, cover it in plastic wrap and put something heavy on it. I'm going to use this jar of beans. This will apply constant pressure on the cheese and keep it draining overnight. For cannoli cream, you need a very dry ricotta. Leave it in the fridge for at least 8 hours, but overnight is best. Okay, that's in the fridge. Next, we tackle our sponge. You'll need 3 large room temperature eggs, 3/4 of a cup of sugar, a teaspoon of grated orange zest, a pinch of salt, a teaspoon of vanilla, 3/4 of a cup of all-purpose flour. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 177 degrees Celsius. Grease a 9 by 13 inch pan and line it with parchment paper. We're going to use our stand mixer on high using the whisk attachment to incorporate as much air as we possibly can into the mixture. Drop in your eggs, drop in your sugar, vanilla, and a pinch of salt. Whisk for 5 to 10 minutes on high. You'll need to scrape the bowl down a few times during this process. You're going to mix this until it's very pale and tripled in volume. Sort of like this, see? Nice and fluffy and puffed up. Next, we'll scatter in the orange zest and fold in our flour, which we'll sift in. Have you ever seen a snow out of season? Put the flour in 1/3 at a time. Mix it thoroughly, but you have to be careful not to deflate the mixture. When it's all mixed and looking lovely, we'll pour it into our pan. It's going into the oven for 15 or 20 minutes or until it's light golden and shrinking from the sides of the pan. While we're waiting for it to bake, we'll make our marzipan. You'll need 1 cup of almond flour, 1/2 cup of roasted unsalted pistachios, 1.5 cups of icing sugar, 2 teaspoons of almond extract, 1 large egg white, 2 teaspoons of light corn syrup. First, grind the pistachios. Pulse them just until they're finely ground, scraping the bowl to avoid lumps. Next, add the almond flour and icing sugar and pulse until it's one finely ground consistency. Like this. See? No lumps there. This is awkward. I know what you're thinking. I can feel it. You figured me out. I have no tits. That's not hyperbole. I'm using that word properly, not in that Kardashian sense. I literally have no tits. Like the other day, I saw this photo of Kendall Jenner and she was wearing this t-shirt. It said, I have no tits. I was like, bitch, please. I literally have no tits. I had the breast cancer. Quit staring at my tits! My eyes are up here. Thank you. Thank you. My eyes are up here. Now we'll add some moisture. Drop in the almond extract and pulse to incorporate. Now, add 1 large egg white. No yolks, folks. Then, add your corn syrup and pulse until it's the consistency of a smooth, thick dough. Turn out your marzipan onto a piece of plastic wrap. Then, you'll knead it a few times and form it into a log. Like this. Wrap it up and seal it tightly. Then set it aside. Since it's been about 15 minutes, let's check on our sponge. That's looking perfect! You can see how it's golden in color and slightly pulling away from the edges of the pan. We'll let it rest here for 5 minutes. Why do I call them titty cakes, you ask? I actually did some research here. Research is kind of my thing. Turns out we find hard consonants way funnier than other sounds, which makes total sense when you think of all the best swear words in the English language. By that logic, tits is way funnier than boobies, melons, cans, jugs, knockers, gazongas. No, tits. Titty cakes. When your sponge has cooled for about 5 minutes, invert it onto a clean tea towel and remove the parchment paper. Then, put a wire rack on top to flip the cake back over again. Ah! Ha ha! Then set it aside. It'll stay there for about 2 hours and cool some more. Next, we move on to our cannoli cream. For that, we'll need to check on our refrigerated ricotta cheese. You should see that overnight, the liquid has drained out of the cheese. This looks perfect. To make the cannoli, we'll be mixing this cheese with 1/2 cup of icing sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, 1 teaspoon of grated orange zest, 6 tablespoons of cut mixed peel, 1/2 cup of mini dark chocolate chips. First, take a spatula or a wooden spoon and press the cheese through the strainer and into a clean bowl. Done! Next, we'll add our icing sugar, then we'll mix until it's incorporated. Next, add your orange zest and your vanilla and mix again. Finally, we'll add our chocolate chips and mixed peel, and we'll stir thoroughly until it's all incorporated. This is the part of the show where you build some muscle. When it's all mixed together, cover it and put it in the fridge. It'll need to stay in there for at least 30 minutes. Let's recap. Our cannoli cream is setting in the fridge, the sponge is cooling on the rack, and our marzipan has rested and is ready to roll. Let's roll! You'll need your rolling pin, 2 pieces of plastic wrap, and your 3-inch silicone molds. Place half your marzipan log onto some plastic wrap and knead it into a flat disc shape. Cover it with another piece of plastic wrap and roll it out from the center. Try not to press down too hard. You're looking for a nice even pressure. When it's completely flat and about the thickness of 2 quarters stacked on top of each other, we'll use our 4-inch circle cutter to cut out our circles. I'll be dusting it with icing sugar to make sure it doesn't stick as we go. You'll want to knead and re-roll your scraps until you have enough dough for all your circles. Next, grab your silicone molds. See how they're semi-spherical, giving us that classic titty shape. Honk honk. You can buy these online. See the link in the description below. We're going to dust it with icing sugar. Gently press your marzipan into each of the molds and repeat for all of your circles. Now it's time to put our cannoli cream in the molds. After setting in the fridge for half an hour, the cream should be firm but workable. Using 2 spoons, we'll scoop the cream into the molds, being sure to leave a ½ inch headroom for our sponge. Once every cup has been filled, set it aside and get your sponge. Now that the sponge has been resting for 2 hours, it's a perfect room temperature. We'll put a piece of wax paper on top and invert the sponge. Using your 3-inch circle cutter, cut out 8 equal shapes. If you want to add a boozy or syrupy flavor to your cakes, now's the time. Formerly, I would have used Grand Marnier and then found any excuse in the world to finish off the rest of the bottle. Since I'm reformed, I'll be using an orange-flavored simple syrup instead. Gently brush the syrup onto the cake round like so. Then top your molds with the cake round. You may need to press down gently to get it to fit. These go into the fridge for another 2 to 4 hours. I want to make sure that everything's perfectly chilled, and I need to finish tidying my workstation. So I'll see you in 4 hours. Okay, it's been 4 hours. Now I'm going to prepare for the final steps, a personal favorite of mine, nipping the cakes. First, we have 4 candied cherries. Cut them in half, rinse them to remove the excess syrup, pat them dry with paper towel, and set aside. It's time to make the lemon royal icing, which we'll use to coat these cakes after the cherry nipples have gone on. You'll need 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, 1 large egg white, 1 cup of icing sugar, and a few additional tablespoons for insurance. Drop your egg white and lemon juice into the stand mixer and mix on medium-high until you see it taking on some volume. Add your icing sugar, watching to make sure it's mixing well. You're going to need to scrape the bowl down a few times. After about 5 minutes, the icing sugar should be incorporated. The icing should look like a thin batter, like this. When it's finished, grab a sheet pan with a clean wire rack on top. We are ready to finish these cakes. Grab those cherry nips. I've taken a mold out of the fridge. Now it's time to pop those little titties onto the rack. Like this. Look at that. This is my favorite part, nipping the cakes. You're going to take your cherry half and place it in your marzipan and press down gently. You don't need to press too hard, just enough to get it to stick. Once your cakes are nipped, pour and smooth over the icing until it coats the cakes completely. Okay, we'll put them in the fridge to let them set for at least an hour. Well, that was the longest hour of my life. Right, it's the moment of truth. We did it, friends. Check out these titties. The sacrificed, the sacred. Now for the best part. It's time for a taste. These titties may be a pain in the arse to make, but the payoff is completely worth it. Delicious. I normally don't even like marzipan, but this is great. Look at this. If you enjoyed making these cakes with me, please consider subscribing and liking this video. For details about the Titty Cakes theater performance, please see the description below. Thanks for watching.